There we are. Looks like we're live. Looks like we're live. Looks like it's snowing outside. Oh my goodness gracious. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As you're coming in, please say hello in the chat. As always, someone let me know. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Do all the technical elements seem to be working together in a fusion to bring my likeness to you via the internet? Let me know if you can see me and hear me. Jojo says, yepper. Is that an answer to my question? I hope so. Let's see. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Someone let me know. Loud and clear. Thank you, Caleb. I so appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. As always, I want to give everyone a couple minutes to make their way in, to get the notification. But as you're coming in, please say hello in the chat, introduce yourself, let me know if you're here for the first time. And then my question for you all today is, what type of church do you go to? And if you don't go to church right now, that's totally fine. This is a judgment-free zone. But what type of church, what denomination are you? I would love to know from that as you're coming into the chat. Just throw what church you go to or what type of church, what denomination you are a part of. So that's my question for you all today. Good stuff, good stuff. I'm going to give everyone a couple minutes. Let's see here. Laura says, I do not go to church right now. That's totally fine. We got Pentecostal, some do arts, Pentecostal. Catherine, Calvary Church. Do you rank non-denominational? Dina is Baptist. Gracie is Methodist. So cool. I love it. I love it. I love it. Michaela attends both Baptist and Methodist. Evan Hall is non-denominational. Nathan says, I go to Fellowship Life Bible Church, a non-denominational church. Very, very cool. Zoe goes to church in Ireland. New Spring in South Carolina. Yeehaw. Lawrence goes to a non-denominational church. Kier Muir, Independent Baptist. Sophia, Protestant. Elim Baptist, Church of Christ, non-denom. Oh, so cool. There are so many different kinds of churches represented in just this chat room, which I think is so cool. Something I am very, very passionate about is bringing unity into the church, meaning the body of Christ, the church at large, by focusing on the majority of the things that we do agree on, that are the pillars of our faith, rather than fighting over some of the minutia and perhaps less significant parts of our faith that so often we get caught up in, and so often we spend our time arguing over those rather than uniting as brothers and sisters in Christ. And so I love seeing that we have people from all different church backgrounds and church experiences and denominations and involvement. I think that is so cool. Myself, I attend Soul City Church in Chicago, Illinois. It is a non-denominational church, but I do ministry and speak and travel to a bunch of different types of churches, including evangelical, Baptist, Lutheran, so many. Done stuff with the Presbyterian Church, Catholic churches, so many different types of churches, and it's something I am very, 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 very passionate about doing. All right, friends, let's get started. Welcome everybody to Q&J Today. We are back. I know we missed a few days this week. I apologize. I was traveling down to Houston, Texas to do a video shoot for a good friend of mine who helps run a nonprofit there. They're doing amazing work. And so the last 2 days I was down there doing that video shoot. So unfortunately, I was not able to hop on at our normal time for Q&J today, but we are back today and I'm so excited about it. So as we're getting started, please start throwing questions over in the chat. Whatever questions you have today, I'm here to answer them. As always, I do not promise to have all the answers, but I do promise to be as honest as I possibly can. As always, I want to let you all know that today's show is brought to you by the Super Chat. The Super Chat is a great way, if you believe in what we're trying to do through this channel, if you believe in this concept of making videos and teaching people about God and about faith and about the Bible via YouTube, then one of the ways that you can help us continue to do this and continue to make these videos is by giving $1, $2, $5, $10 in the Super Chat, however you are able. It is available in many areas of the world. If it's available where you are and you're able to do that today, all you have to do is click the little money symbol that's located just under where you type something in the chat. You can give $1, $2, $5, $20, however you're able. And what it does, it highlights your comment or question, guarantees that I will see it, guarantees that I will answer your question, and also every dollar given in the super chat goes straight towards this channel. It helps me to continue to make these videos that hopefully are encouraging you and moving you forward in your faith. So now that that's all out of the way, let's do it, people. Let's get down to business. To defeat the Huns, let's answer some questions. All right, what questions do we have today? All right, let's see. Caleb Arn asks, favorite author question mark or one of your favorites? Great question. So growing up, I really loved the book The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. And so when I was growing up, I read so much S.E. Hinton. I read Rumblefish and Tex, like all the S.E. Hinton books. So I really loved those growing up for some reason. But nowadays, I really love reading Mark Batterson's books. I find them to be just incredibly inspiring and applicable from a faith perspective, specifically his book, The Circle Maker. I always point to that as the best book that I have ever read on the subject of prayer. And that book absolutely transformed my prayer life, if you will. So I really am a big fan of Mark Batterson. And then if I were to say another one, it would probably be Seth Godin. I love Seth Godin's books. I've read probably upwards of 10 of his books, and I continue to reread many of his books. And I've talked about Seth on the podcast. I'm not on the podcast. I've talked about him on the podcast. You should subscribe to The Bear and the Swan, but I've talked about him on Q&J Today before. Gracie asks, are you coming back to Ignite Gospel in Des Moines? You better believe it. I'll be back at Ignite. That's my home. That's my home. Shouts to everyone who are gonna be at Ignite. Would love to see you there. Would love to see you there. All right, let's see. What other questions do we have? Michelle, I'm so sorry that you're not feeling well. I hope you feel better. Everyone, Michelle's not feeling well. Let's give her some good wishes and let's pray for some healing for her. Blessing Heart asks, when were you baptized and what was your experience like? So I was baptized as an infant in the Methodist church, actually. But then when I was 16, I made the decision to be baptized sort of as an adult, if you will. I say I made sort of my first decision to follow Jesus. I became a Christian. I got saved when I was 14 years old. But then it took me a few years to sort of come to the place where I thought, you know what, I want to proclaim this publicly. I would like to be baptized. And so I got baptized. I actually, the friend who I was doing the video shoot with in Houston, her mom is the one who baptized me, actually. So I was 16, got baptized in a lake. It was a great, incredible day, especially for me because, you know, when I was 16, I certainly wasn't as far along in my faith or in my relationship with God as I am today. But I can look to that point as that was a step for me. Proclaiming publicly, I have decided to follow Jesus. I have decided to give my life over to God. I am dying to myself and being raised into this new life. Making that decision to proclaim that at 16 years old, it didn't mean that I had it all figured out. Didn't mean that I had everything together. It meant that I was making the decision that I'm going to walk this path with God. And it's been really cool to look back over the last 10, 11 years as God has taken me on that path. And so, yeah, I had an amazing experience. I highly recommend getting baptized if you're in a place where you're ready to do that. Highly recommend it. Let's see. All right. Trees asks, are you going to the Hillsong United concert? Are you talking about the one in Chicago? Aren't they in Chicago like next October or something? I don't really know. I don't really keep up with all of it. I might go. Who knows? Maybe. We'll see. Let's see. Mary M asks, what to do when you get baptized too early or when you're too young and really don't understand what it means? I don't think there's anything wrong with going and saying that you would like to get baptized at your church. I think that's totally fine, especially if you did it, if it happened for you. Like for me, it happened when I was an infant, or maybe for you, it happened when you were at an age where you really didn't know what you were doing. At least at my church, if you were to go to them and explain that, my church would be like, absolutely, let's do this today. Let's do this right now. And there's a lot of people with a lot of different beliefs on baptism, and I totally respect that. That's just my belief. Like, I don't think there's any better time than now. I don't think there's no, there's nothing nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Let's see. This is a great question coming in from Domingo. Any thoughts on a church that focuses to grow more their members rather than to grow their spiritual life? So I think that this is a balance, actually, that a lot of churches perhaps struggle to find. So one side of the spectrum, we have churches that only focus on getting as many people in the doors as possible. And what usually happens there is, for the people who have been going there for a while and the people who are perhaps growing and developing in their faith, they begin to feel as though they've been left out, because everything that the church is doing is targeted towards new people or people who are not, quote unquote, Christians or saved yet. And I think that is, by doing that, by only focusing on getting new people, while that's great, you are not necessarily serving a large demographic of your denomination who perhaps make up the core of your church. And so for me, at our church, I understand that as an active member in the church and as someone who has been a Christian for many years now, I understand that Sunday services are not always going to be catered towards me. They're going to be catered probably towards the first-time guest or someone who's new. And so I need to seek other opportunities that the church provides, and hopefully they do. I need to seek other opportunities in which I can go a little bit deeper and I can grow. Our church does midweek gatherings every now and then where we really focus on Bible study. There are small groups that you can join. There are other opportunities that our church provides. And I think that's how a church can strike that balance, knowing that most of your Sunday services are probably going to be geared towards new people, but also making sure that you provide ways for people who have been around a while and people who aren't as new in their faith, provide opportunities for them to go a little bit deeper. And of course, the other side of the spectrum is people who aren't interested in bringing anybody new in, and they're only focusing on the people who are already there. And then, in my opinion, you're not really focusing on the Great Commission, which is to go and preach the gospel to all nations, not just the 200 people who show up in the pews, and it's the same people every single Sunday. So I think there's a nice balance that churches perhaps can find. Some dude who arts, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Collab with Clayton Jennings or Joseph Solomon, question mark. So Joe actually did a testimony video way back when we were the Anima series. He did like a My Story video, which was super fun. Joe's been on the vlog. Clayton's been on the vlog. We've never really worked together on a video before. Obviously, the three of us are three pretty busy guys, and hopefully we can perhaps do that someday. We don't have any plans in the works right now. You know, Clayton just got done with a giant tour last year where he was going on this amazing crusade. Joe is always traveling and performing and doing awesome things as well. So hopefully we run into each other at some point and do some cool stuff. Good question. All right, what other questions we got? We're getting through a lot today. I feel like I have some quick to the point answers, which is good. Logan King, what would you say is the most influential book in the Bible for a young Christian? I think that depends on who the Christian is. And I think it depends. I think what book is most influential for you right now at maybe 15 years old is going to be different than what book really speaks to you when you're 25 or when you're 45 or when 75 years old. I think one of the more formative books for me, specifically when I was in college and I was pursuing being an actor in sort of the secular world, was the book of Daniel. Because in Daniel, we read this story of this guy who found himself in a very dark and secular world. And yet within that, through excellence and through humility and service, he gained incredible favor and he gained incredible influence for the Lord. That's sort of the story of Daniel in Babylon with Nebuchadnezzar. And so that during that season of my life, when I was seeking to be an excellent actor in this sort of secular dark world, that really resonated with me, and that really helped sort of form who I wanted to be. But of course, I'm in a different season of life now. I'm not necessarily doing those things. And so there are other parts of the Bible that perhaps speak to me more, specifically ever since I, went out on this path of sort of entrepreneurship and building this ministry for myself, Proverbs 3 verses 5 and 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your own understanding, in all your ways submit to him and he will make the path straight. This idea of not knowing what the path is, but trusting that God knows what it is. That's something that really resonates with me right now. So I think it really depends. Let's see. Laura Knight asks, what is your favorite kind of sandwich and what do you like on it? So I used to be a big sandwich person. I used to love sub sandwiches. Like a good turkey sub was like, that's it. That's all I need. But recently I have gone vegetarian, and so I don't really have a lot of turkey subs anymore. And when you go vegetarian, something I noticed is you don't eat as many sandwiches, or at least I don't, because most sandwiches are built around the meat. However, my absolute favorite sandwich, the OG sandwich, the greatest sandwich of all time, a PB&J is still good, and it's vegetarian, baby. So I love me a good PB&J, or a day. Well, not every day, that would be bad, but I don't know if it'd be bad, but like, I don't want to ruin peanut butter and jelly for myself because it's delicious, obviously. Anyway, what other questions? So a lot of people are asking about my opinions on LGBTQ in the church. This is just something I talk about so much on Q&J Today that I promise you I'm not ignoring these questions. It's just something we talk about so much on this live stream that, you know, people who have been here before and whatnot, I don't want to bore you with sort of by rehashing my thoughts. However, I will say this. I think that there is a gross mistreatment of our gay and lesbian and queer and bisexual brothers and sisters within the church. I think there is a gross mistreatment of it, regardless of whether you are on the side that believes that it is a sin or whether you are not. There is no debate over how we are called to treat human beings, brothers and sisters, people who are also created by a loving God and who are loved by that God. There is no debate over how we should treat them with love and with humility and with grace. And I don't really see that happening. I don't see enough patience. I don't see enough humility, mostly from Christians. And so for the people in my life who are gay and the people that I know, I always seek to be the exception to their rule. When they meet a Christian, chances are they have a lot of bad baggage with Christians in their lives. And so I seek to be the most loving person that I possibly can to them. Rather than viewing it as my crusade to change them or to save them or to turn them from their ways. No, I want to love them, and I want to allow God, I want to create space. I want to draw them closer to God so that God can work in their lives, so that God can accomplish what he wants to accomplish in their lives. Those are my thoughts on it. But again, it's something I talk about a lot on specifically on this live stream, and I enjoy talking about it. But yeah, that's what I have to say there. You got it, Lauren. All right, let's see. There was another question that I wanted to answer. Kiramir asks, what does it mean to have an encounter with God? So this is, again, this is just me personally. Whenever I use the words that I feel like I've encountered God or have an encounter with God, is I am aware of God's presence around me in some way, in some tangible way. I guess I feel God's presence. I feel as though God has spoken to me through my thoughts or in my heart. The reality is that every single moment of every single day, we are encountering God. God is always with us. God is always in our midst. God is always speaking to us. He's always reaching out to us. He's always trying to communicate with us. When we encounter God, I think, are those few beautiful moments when we are aware of God's reaching out to us and we reach back out to him. When we are aware of God's presence, when we can feel it, when we know it, when we can feel like we can almost taste his presence. And those moments for a lot of us, they're few and far between, but when they are, we just walk away and it's hard to describe. But if it's ever happened to you, you know, it's like God was there in that room. God was there in that prayer. God was there in that song. And that to me is what an encounter with God is like. And there is really nothing like it. There's really nothing like it. All right, friends, that is all the time I have for today. Thank you, everyone who watched. Thank you to everyone who gave in the super chat. Thanks to all of you for asking questions. I missed this week. I'm sorry we only got a few in, but such is life. But I really, really appreciate all of you and your support. I hope you will go and watch the brand new 7-minute sermon series. We kicked off a new 7-minute sermon series on this channel on the Trinity. The Trinity can be a very confusing and frustrating concept for a lot of people, Christian or non. And today we started by talking about God the Father. Who is God the Father? And who is God the Father to you? And why does it matter to understand God as Father for us in our faith? So I highly recommend you go and check that out. It's brand new on the channel right now. Maybe share it with a few friends. I hope it encourages you. All right, friends, I love you all very much. Love you all. Keep being awesome.